Hey everybody, and welcome to section 7.3, more multiplication properties of exponents. As you can see at the top, I want you to turn your volume on so you can hear me. All right, here we go. All right, so raising a power to a power. So for every non-zero number a and integers m and n, if you have a to the m, and that's being raised to the nth power, you're going to multiply the two powers. Before, what we were doing is we had, let's say, x to the 6th times x to the 8th, and that's where it's x 6 plus 8. That's when the bases are the same, you get x to the 14th. Now what we have is basically x to the 6th to the 8th, and that's x 6 times 8, and that's x to the 48th power. So that's the slight difference between the two types of multiplications. So whenever you have a power being raised to a power, you just multiply the two exponents. So down here I have 6 to the 3rd raised to the 4th power. That's 6 to the 3rd times 4, or 6 to the 12th power. And then over here I have 8 to the 5th power to the negative 2nd power. That's 8 to the 5th times negative 2, which equals 8 to the negative 10th. Well, remember, we can't have a negative exponent, so that's 1 over 8 to the 2th power. So take a second, and I want you to try these two on your own. Power to a power. So for this one, you should have got x to the 4th times 7, or x to the 28th. And over here, you should get 2 to the 3rd times 8, or 2 to the 24th power. Remember, these are powers being raised to a power. Be careful, the order of operation always applies. So, this is multiplication. This here is exponents. So be careful when you're doing this. You have to do the exponents first before you multiply. So I need to do n to the 4th to the 3rd power. I need to simplify that first. Well, 4 times 3 is 12, so I get n to the 12th power times n to the 2nd power. Now I do multiplication. So if you can tell the difference, this is a power being raised to the power. Now it's a multiplication problem, so I have to add the exponents. If you need to, take a moment and look at the difference between n to the 4th raised to the 3rd power. That's where you multiply the exponents, and n to the 12th times n to the 2nd. This is where you add the exponents. So over here I get j squared times j to the 7th. Even though there's parentheses here, this is a multiplication problem. So it's 2 plus 7. It's j to the 9th. Be careful of that. J squared times j to the 7th, you add the exponents. So times j to the negative 5th. 9 plus negative 5, j to the 4th power. Alright, so take a moment and try these two on your own. If you need to, pause the video. If you have to, you could always stop and go back and re-watch the previous slide. So I have b to the 6th times b to the 8th. Add the exponents, I get b to the 14th times b to the negative 3rd, comes up to b to the 11th power. And over here, I have two terms of powers being raised to a power. So this comes to a to the negative 8th times a to the cube to the 5th power, a to the 15th. Because over here, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And 3 times 5 is 15. Now it's a multiplication problem with the same base, so I'm going to add the exponents. Negative 8 plus 15 gives me a to the 7th power. And then raising a product to a power. So it says for every non-zero number a and b, an integer n. If I have a, b raised to the nth power, I basically am distributing that exponent to both of the terms inside the parentheses. So for example, I have 3x raised to the 4th power. So it's like you distribute the 4 to both the 3 and the x. So you get 3 to the 4th times x to the 4th. 3 to the 4th equals 81, so it's 81x to the 4th. When you have a product that has to be raised to a power, distribute the power to every factor. So over here, I'm going to get 4 squared, j squared. And 4 squared is 16. Remember, you're distributing that exponent, and you get 16j squared. Over here, I have 5 to the negative 4th times x to the negative 8th. And since both of those are negative exponents, it's 1 over 5 to the 4th, x to the 8th. And then we simplify it, I get 1 over 625 x to the 8th power. Okay, try these two on your own. If you need to, pause the video, take your time. If you have to, you can go back, do anything you have to in order to understand what's going on. So I distribute that 4 exponent to 2 and z, and I get 2 to the 4th, z to the 4th, or 16z to the 4th power. And over here I get 4 to the negative 2nd power, g to the negative 10th, and that's equal to 1 over, because they're negative exponents, they go to the bottom of the denominator, or they go to the denominator, they go over the fraction bar, and I get 4 squared, which is 16, g to the 10th. And then finally, some expressions have more than one power raised to a power. So now this takes a little bit more time because there's a lot more work to be done. So just take it one step at a time. So I have 4xy cubed to the 2nd power times x cubed to the negative 3rd power. So I'm going to distribute the 2, all 3 of the terms, and then negative 3 to this term. So I get 4 squared x squared y to the 6th power. Because it's a power being raised to a power, I distribute the 2 to all 3 of those terms. And then I'll put a little time symbol that helps. X cubed to the negative 3rd power is 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Now, I have a multiplication problem, and notice I have an x and an x. Even though this x is in this term, I can still combine these because it's a multiplication problem. So I do 2 is negative 9, and 4 squared equals 16. So I get 16 x to the negative 7th y to the 6th. Again, I distributed the powers to the powers, so exponents first, and now I'm at multiplication, so x squared and x to the negative 9th have the same base of x. Now I just combine the exponents by adding them together. 2 plus negative 9 is negative 7. So I get 16x to the negative 7th y to the 6th, and I'm able to put it all together because it's a multiplication. So now I have 16x to the negative 7th, y to the 6th. I have x to the negative 7th. Remember, for something to be completely simplified, it can't have a negative exponent. So it's 16y to the 6th, x to the 7th. All right, and so here's your quiz. What I want you guys to do, it's not necessarily a quiz, it's more along the lines of I want you to try and apply all the skills you've just learned over the past 2 days and see if you can simplify these 4 problems. Remember, 2 times 4, you can do that, will give you 8. Exponents first, and then add the exponents with like bases. Take your time. We're going to go over these tomorrow. It's the first thing we're going to do in class. I hope you found this lesson helpful. We'll do a little bit more of this in class, plus some other stuff, including activities and group work. And I hope it went well. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.